coming to the Reagan debate. We'll give him another chance in Alabama, but if he doesn't come there, then I'm going to follow him around the country. Wherever he goes, I'll go. And we'll wind up talking to each other one way or the other.
Welcome back to America Decides. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and the 2024 GOP field will have to wait beyond next week's debate to go toe-to-toe with former President Donald Trump. The Republican frontrunner is skipping the debate to instead visit the Detroit area and meet with United Auto Workers who are on strike. Trump, you'll recall, also skipped the first GOP debate in Milwaukee last month. CBS News Chief Elections and Campaign Correspondent Robert Costa joins us now. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
You ran into former Vice President Mike Pence and talked to him a little bit about this. Let's play that exchange and get your reaction on the other side.
Is Trump making a mistake by not showing up at the second Republican debate?
I think it's a missed opportunity for Donald Trump, and I think it's a missed opportunity for Republican voters. Look, this country's in a lot of trouble. Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad, and I think the former president, just like all the rest of us vying for the Republican nomination, owe it to the American people to express what our agenda will be for turning this country around. Because as I said in a speech in New Hampshire just a couple of weeks ago, Bob, look, when we ran in 2016, Donald Trump promised to govern as a conservative, and we did govern as conservatives. But he makes no such promise today. I mean, as we discussed, that on the world stage, we hear increasingly Donald Trump and some of his imitators are talking about walking away from America's role as leader of the free world. Joe Biden's policy on our national debt is insolvency, and Donald Trump's position is identical to Joe Biden's. He won't even talk about reforming the entitlements, driving a national debt that threatens our prosperity. And on the right to life, you know, I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. But Donald Trump, even this last weekend, said that a heartbeat bill that passed in Florida was a terrible mistake, and even blamed losses in the 22 midterm elections on the fact that we overturned Roe versus Wade. I think the time has come for him to step forward and start talking not about the past but about the future, because I truly do believe it's that vision for the future, which I think ought to be built on that common sense conservative agenda that's defined our party and defined our movement.
Got a sharper knife there as he goes after the former president. And notable, he's not only going after the former president, but Donald Trump and some of his imitators, which seems a veiled reference to Vivek Ramaswamy, who he sparred with in the last debate.
Or not so veiled.
Yeah.
You have in former Vice President Pence, someone who's trying to get traction in the Republican presidential race. He's calling Trump's decision to not attend the second debate a missed opportunity for Trump, but it's also a missed opportunity for former Vice President Pence, for former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. All of these contenders are searching for a moment, searching for any way to get electricity around their candidacies at this crucial moment in the race.
You also talked to him about some of the recent comments by the former president on foreign policy. Let's take a listen.
You suggested that he might be, with his policy positions and statements, leaning toward an appeasement policy when it comes to Russia and China. What's your concern about former President Trump's position on China specifically?
You know, I led in the administration with the very first address, announcing our change policy toward China. And for all 4 years, we developed a whole new national consensus about China. I think the American people now understand that China is the greatest economic and strategic threat that's faced by the United States of America. But when I hear my former running mate speaking about walking away from American leadership as war rages in Eastern Europe, when I see other voices in the party that suggest that we can look the other way as China continues its military provocations and makes its ambitions to move against Taiwan more clear by the day, I thought it was important to make it clear that the progress that we made during our administration on the world stage was because we practiced peace through strength.
Reaching back to that Reagan rhetoric again. What do you make of that? I mean, it's clearly this growing divide. He's trying to call it out.
And he's calling the former president his former running mate.
Yeah.
And he said that repeatedly in our interview yesterday, my former running mate, my former running mate. For Pence, that's a dismissive way of phrasing his approach to Trump. For so long, we saw him as the loyal soldier at Trump's side, always referring to him as President Trump. Now it's my former running mate. Because Trump has been relentless in attacking Pence ever since the days before and after January 6th. And you see in Pence's candidacy an attempt to revive traditional conservative ideas on foreign policy and on cultural and social policy. Pence believes he has a path ahead in the race by cultivating the Iowa Republican voter who has been maybe a bit adrift from the Trump direction of the Republican Party and could be looking for someone like they had in 2012 with Rick Santorum or 2008 with Mike Huckabee. Now, those two candidates didn't end up winning the Republican nomination, but they did very well in Iowa. And that's what Pence wants. He wants an opportunity to do well with the Iowa voter so he has a chance to go on to Super Tuesday in other states.
There's another guy, of course, trying in Iowa, and that is the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who spoke with our buddy Amanda Rooker of KCCI and had similarly strong words for the former president. Take a look at what he had to say.
You have held far more campaign events. You have campaigned in far more counties than former President Donald Trump has, yet he's far ahead of you in the polls. Why is that?
Well, I don't know that he's really that ahead in Iowa. I mean, I think he may be ahead, but I think it's fluid. If you really press people, the majority of people here haven't made a 100% decision. I think the former president, he believes he's entitled to be nominated. He's not doing the work it takes to really earn people's votes.
In other words, wait and see. I mean, he too seems to think that over time, there's still a chance to break through.
But as you know, Ed, even if you get the bounce in Iowa, how big of a bounce is it going to be? Senator Bernie Sanders thought he'd get a bigger bounce out of there when he ran for the Democratic nomination. I remember Santorum. The count was complicated in 2012. Did Romney win? Did he win? He didn't ultimately get the kind of jolts he needed out of Iowa. But for Governor DeSantis and Vice President Pence, Iowa is it. New Hampshire and South Carolina seem to be a bit more complicated as political terrain. So if Iowa's the open opportunity, that's where they're flocking.
So if you're an Iowa Republican getting all this attention, you're going to see it. But for the rest of the country and for these candidates at this point to try to break through, really their only opportunity is these debates.
But if Trump doesn't show up.
Right.
So I always look at Iowa as a place where there's a late break. I mean, I love covering this day to day, week to week. I know you do too. We have a lot of passion for the process of politics. But Iowa is a place where even the Iowa caucus goer doesn't really start to plunge into who's in the race, where do they stand until after Christmas,
right?
And the holidays in December.
That's right. Save your energy for post-Christmas once the returns have been made. Then
but I think we'll be there in the fall.
Every so often, whether we want to be or not. But we do, because it's fun to watch. Robert Costa, thank you. Great conversation with the former vice president.